Welcome back to another Q&A session. This is the second one I'm doing. I did a first one of these a few months ago and I wanted to do one again. So here we are. This is the second episode of What You Say Q&A. I want to start off this video with a bit of housekeeping and a bit of a personal note. I'm filming this on the 17th of April and I've been filming a lot of videos in advance lately because the day this video is supposed to drop, which is the 30th of June, is also my wife's due date for our first child, our son, to be born. Which also means that I will probably not have enough time around the summertime when I become a dad to film a lot of videos. That's just something I wanted to share with anyone who's been watching my channel on a regular basis. If you see my output stagnate, you know why that is. I will become a dad for the first time around this time that you see this video, but I'm also gigging a lot with Violet's Tale, with Nighthawker. I'm recording a kind of solo project which I will share in a different video. And I also got an extra project coming my way in September. So besides becoming a dad, it's been really busy with music outside of my regular job. With all that out of the way, let's start with the first question because it's a good one right away. Do good guitar players ever get it wrong? I wouldn't know because I don't consider myself a good guitar player, but I do think good guitar players can also get it wrong, but I think mostly in a different way. And I think the best example is an artist I saw last year. I'm not going to mention his name, but I saw him for the first time and he is a young and phenomenal guitar player and singer. But he also added a second guitar player for his band. And I wasn't sure why at first, because he can play very good himself. But I actually liked the second guitar player better at that show because he was taking his time. He had nothing to prove, he was just playing laid back, he was playing to the song. And the main guy, the one whose name was on the bill, he was overplaying. He is very good, but I think overplaying is the main issue for good guitar players. Like I saw at that show, he was playing everything really fast. He was throwing weird jazz lines in there and was all really impressive, but it didn't really touch me. And what the other guitar player was doing, sometimes taking seconds long into a solo, hanging on one note, it was much more interesting because he was telling a story. He was taking his time and he was not playing or portraying his chops. And that was what the main guy was doing. And it was just a little bit disappointing because I waited years to see him live. I know he's a great guitar player, but it just didn't do it really for me that night. And that's something that I see with more great musicians who are very technical and also have a lot of music knowledge, that they play too much at the top of their ability and actually are a bit overplaying or in some cases over singing. And I think you should always play to the song and not always showcase what you can do. But what do I know? I will probably never be able to play like that, so it's easy for me to say that. Question number 2. What kind of gear do you need to start gigging? Well, you need an amp that has enough watts, and how many watts you need depends on if you're going for a tube amp or a solid state or modeling amp. And obviously you need a guitar that is well set up because you don't want to go out of tune or be out of tune when you're playing a show. And if you need any pedals and what kind of guitar or amp you need actually depends on the kind of music that you're playing and what you want to sound like. And if you're planning on gigging with a drummer and playing a bit louder, I also really suggest you look into hearing protection. And I know I might sound a bit old saying this because I didn't play with hearing protection for more than 10 years because I didn't think it was necessary. I thought it was expensive and I was afraid my sound was going to sound a bit different. But after more than 10 years, I have tinnitus in my left ear, and if I could do it again, I would definitely start out with hearing protection a lot earlier, and these days I don't play without it. And if you want to gig seriously, I can really recommend you go for made-to-measure hearing protection. That's what I eventually did, and it actually sounds a lot better. I can hear myself sing a lot better, but the whole mix of your entire band becomes a lot more transparent. And you don't have to lose the energy, you just have to go for something like minus 15 dBs. I think that's what I have in my made-to-measure hearing protection. But we actually play really loud and it's a lot better like this. I can hear everything a lot more clear. I can hear the mix a whole lot better. And my tinnitus doesn't get any worse than it already is. And now that we're talking about gigs, let's go ahead with question number 3. And that is the craziest thing that ever happened to me at a gig. And I don't mean to brag, but I have a lot of crazy gig stories that I might use for a separate video. But I think the craziest thing that ever happened to me at a gig was when the police raided the entire venue with 12 vans. So this happened around 2007 in an old factory that was occupied by the art scene in that city. And it's a whole thing in the Netherlands. I cannot really explain it to you, but it's possible in the Netherlands legally to occupy an abandoned building and for it to be legal somehow. We were playing with Reckless Pilots there on a 3-band bill, and we were the second band to play. And after our show, all the lights went out and the police came in and rushed everybody outside. And there were 12 vans outside with police. And it was actually just some kind of stupid permit issue because the organizers actually had a permit from the city council, but the person responsible at the city council didn't give this information to the police. So the police actually thought it was an illegal event, even though it wasn't, and they decided to come in hot with 12 police vans and a whole lot of police force to raid the entire building. And even before the lights went out and the police came rushing in to get everybody outside of the building, it was already a crazy night because, you know, it was the art scene there in that city. And I mean, you can kind of imagine how that goes. There were a lot of people on drugs dancing with their own shadow and that kind of stuff. It was already weird and crazy, but in a mostly fun way, but it definitely gets crazy when the police comes in and rushes everybody out. And given the venue and the nature of things there, I could imagine why they came with 12 vans and thought there might be something fishy going on. But there actually wasn't, but it does make for a great story to play a show and after your show getting rushed out by the police, and the third band couldn't even play their show. But we could always say, and we even put that in our bio, that one of our shows was actually stopped by the police, which it kind of was. The fourth question is actually one I get very often by people, and mostly by people who don't actually play music themselves. And that is if I listen to music differently as someone who is a musician himself, who plays multiple instruments, who also records and produces. And I don't always listen to music differently. If I hear something that I think is interesting, I listen as a musician or as a producer because I want to hear what they are doing or how they got that sound. And sometimes when music is not good, I also listen to a musician, and I think that's what happens most of the time. And that's mostly with a lot of contemporary music that you hear in the Spotify top 40 or top 50, because I don't consider a lot of that music not really very musical. And if I hear that kind of music, I listen as a musician because I want to hear something musical. And if I hear something that's not really musical, I have something to complain about, if that makes sense. But that might be just me. I'm a bit old school. Some might call me a blues dad or dad rocker. And now that I'm actually becoming a dad soon, that moniker is going to make a lot more sense, and it's going to suit me even better as the person that I am. And the fifth and final question is, did you actually make any kind of film stuff outside of YouTube? And this question came from the last Q&A session that I did, where I talked about how I went to film school. And yes, I actually did. I started out by making stupid videos and skateboard videos with my friends in my early teens. That went into making music videos, and eventually I made my first short film in 2010. And I made quite a few more ever since. But the last one I did, I shot in 2017. So that has been a while ago. Of course, there was COVID in between that, but I would actually like to get on with making a new short film sometime, or even a feature film. I made one feature film, and no, you cannot find it anywhere. And that's deliberately. You can find some of my short films, but I will not share them here because this is a guitar channel. But yeah, I actually have been making film kind of stuff and also other things like music videos. I also did some dance videos, not dancing myself because I cannot dance, but I was asked to shoot a dance video for a composer who's together with a dancer, and they made some music and a dance choreography, I think, and I hope I said it right this time. But I did that kind of thing. I had my short films at film festivals and also got some laurels there. So it was kind of serious, or it still is kind of serious. I actually think I have more talent as a filmmaker than as a musician. But it's easier to make music than to make films, because making films, besides having the gear, which I have, it also takes money for actors, for props. It depends on a lot more, not just a lot more people, but also a lot more money to actually make anything. You need locations, you need people to help you to do the sounds. It's not easy getting a short film off the ground, let alone a long or a feature film. Jesus Christ, I'm really noticing when getting to the end of this. But yeah, I actually did that too, and I still consider myself doing that because I'm still writing stuff. But if you're making music as much as I'm doing, besides having a normal day job, besides doing a lot of sessions and recording and producing and all that kind of stuff, it's really difficult not just to find the time to do that, but also to get in the headspace to do that. Because it doesn't really work for me when I'm doing a lot with music to also get my hand into doing something with film. I need some headspace for that and really get a few weeks into really just being with movies, watching movies, writing stuff. And I don't find the time for that, and I don't find the needs to justify that, or I haven't been finding that lately, but I hope to do something soon, and maybe I will share something in the future. But for now, that's all I will say. And that was my second Q&A session. I hope you liked it and enjoyed it. Of course, I would also like to encourage you to chime in on the conversation in the comments down below. And of course, please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you next time.